So when I've been backed in a corner, when the cops are helping the perpetrator, believing her story that she's the victim. So I can't go to the cops for help. And then from the beginning, they was go to therapists. The therapist, I have all the sessions I've recorded. Therapists always say there's nothing we can do. I reported to Adult Protective Services. They scold me to discourage me. When everyone you go to doesn't help and you backed up into a corner intentionally, they back you up into a corner to get you to do something when cops aren't helping. Cops are helping the criminal to do something, take the law in your hands, to do something, then they got you. That's the point of the scam. If people can understand, is to back you up in the corner year after year after year until they wear you out with these methods and no one listening. The fact that you're here now listening to me, that's what I wanted, is to actually get someone that would listen and then someone understands the fact that you've been through it. So I feel like that strength in numbers. I find all the addresses, like it's on the news in Brentwood. There's somebody, I think in still going on, that's been on the news because it's in Brentwood. Somebody's occupying a house there in an Airbnb. If you've heard about that story, if I find other targets of this type of scam and document their stories so that enough of us, we will join together, so strengthen numbers when then people will listen. And then there's one point I need to make. The reason a lot of people I feel protested, they were using that excuse that it's not about dogs as an excuse. It's about 4 dogs, 2 that was stolen, 1 was being abused the entire time and used as a prop for the scam in different ways, and 1 was killed, let out to die intentionally to make Tanya feel unsafe. Tanya was threatened so much, eventually her therapist put her on a bus alone, a Greyhound bus, to drive her all the way across country to South Carolina. And if we find out that part, what's happened to her, this story, so they were using, but the real reason they didn't like, a lot of people in that park have expressed bias towards me, and these stigmas they have against me, it's there. It's in all these conversations that I have the screenshots of that I've had with them. The perpetrators intentionally, scammers, squatters, intentionally target people who have these attributes about them, the vulnerable, that people won't listen to them. People will say, oh, you need to be... I have that conversation with the other girl that I had at the dog park. She says, I'm not going to listen to you because you need to be on medication. I showed her, I have my psychiatrist, the session recorded, I have the diagnosis. None of my psychiatrists have recommended medication because I don't need them. She's saying, well, if your psychiatrist hasn't prescribed them to you, then that's not a good psychiatrist. Go to a different one. I'm not going to talk to you unless you get a psychiatrist that puts you on medication. You understand how unfair that is? So if people, squatters, intentionally target people who are a little bit different, my friends have told me, Zeke, there's nothing wrong with you. You're eccentric. Eccentric, there's a difference between eccentric. If you talk too much or you say things that people find uncomfortable to listen to, then and then you say, well, you're reporting about this, I don't want to hear it. You go get on medication. And the cops were saying that. I'm telling the cops, this is a squatter. She's coming here for the intention of getting my property using these methods. They said, no, this is not a crime. Are you on meds? Are you on meds? They keep repeating that. I have the video of them constantly saying that because they target people, they gaslight them intentionally with the purpose of which is to make someone think they're going crazy. They spread rumors, And then to say, well, you don't have credibility because you need to be on meds and you're not seeing a psychiatrist. I have all of these psychiatrist sessions recorded in which they don't recommend meds because I don't need them, and it just tells you what it is. I don't have the kind of mental disorder that has false reasoning. Someone who Miriam, in my conversation with her, says you're out of touch with reality. I have everything recorded so you can see with your eyes. So I want Miriam, so she's blocking it from communication because she doesn't have an answer to that. That's a cop-out. I challenge anybody, you watch anything in those recordings, anything I say, that the reasoning isn't correct, isn't accurate, or there's falsehood, or there's something that you can say is I'm imagining, it's out of touch with reality. I challenge anybody to look in my videos, everything I say, anything I've ever said, and find the things you think are out of touch with reality. I do say things that are controversial. I do say things that are different, they're unique, but they're not out of touch with reality. You bring it to my attention, anybody, anything I've said. So I've taken abnormal psychology in Pierce College with Professor Chadwick Snow. I've studied mental disorders. I know the distinction between what someone is saying is and I have clients and I have friends who I know how to distinguish. With someone talking about something that isn't real, it's imaginary, but they claim it is real, I know better to distinguish. And I challenge anybody to point out anything I'm saying that isn't real, they think is imaginary. So she cuts off communication because of that. That's used as an excuse to block communication with someone who's targeted with this kind of scam. Because then they say, well, you need to be on meds. You don't have credibility because you need to be on meds and you're not. And I have the proof that they're wrong. And that I have the screenshot of conversation with my own cousin who says that. Says you're not credible because you need to see psychiatrists and you need to be on meds and you haven't. And I sure have the video of my psychiatrist sessions that shows them they don't recommend medication, and I don't have that type of disorder. I am hyperverbal. That's what I have. I talk too much. And a lot of people don't like that. They don't like what I say, and so it's easy to say, well, you need to be on medication, so meds will shut you up. And how many people in America are put on meds when they don't need them to shut them up? They're diagnosed because the neurodivergent, you understand? So this the misconceptions in America about the neurodivergent, they call them mentally ill. Just because someone is different doesn't mean they are ill. And even if they are, they need to be listened to and understood, not shut out, and not medicated so they don't speak. You know that which was Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, they put everybody on meds, on this Soma, to shut them up, to keep them from rebelling against corrupt government. And this is what's going on. Everybody is tranquilized with television, which tells them to get on all these drugs, which profits the pharmaceuticals, and then all the anxiety drugs, all the antipsychotics, everything they use, all the damage done to all the people to shut them up instead of listening to them. And then I work with people who are the neurodivergent community. I've learned that each individual has their own language. And when people look at someone and they think this person isn't making sense or they're not reasoning properly, maybe they're not reasoning properly or making sense the way you understand it. But when you learn that individual's language, the way they reason, the way they make sense, then you can interpret it, and you actually see that they do, underneath the misunderstanding of language, the misunderstanding of people who are neurodivergent, and all of those stigmas. These people, these individuals, have a message that needs to be heard by society. It is so crucial. And then to have the patient to get over that misunderstanding, to listen to that individual, to listen to what they're saying, and decipher the message underneath the misunderstanding of their individual way of reasoning and making sense. If you can learn their language, their way, and understand them, they can actually, a lot of them, be included in society and not ostracized, not blocked and kicked out because simply what they're saying. When I'm not a harmful person, I've never, I think that's why I've survived. All I do is talk. I don't not mean to people. So all I ask is to be heard, and the fact that you just listened to me, and what you were telling me, that sounds exactly the same. You're saying it's different, but it's exactly the same. Somebody is profiting from you, from people, using the laws and using these methods that the law doesn't recognize as a violation of the law, because it's engineered intentionally to be invisible to the law. The cops say, I don't see this. Where's the crime? Where's the crime? They know it's going on. They intentionally support it using these policies and laws that are made intentionally to support it.